Good morning. So today we are going to discuss the nature of logic. So nature of logic, already we have studied 3 points, and the last one, that is logic is a normative science, not a positive science. Normative science, not a positive science. So out of 4 points, 3 points already we have discussed. So remaining one, that is the last one, logic is a normative science, not a positive science. So today we are going to discuss that logic is a normative science, not a positive science. So here again, and already we have studied and we know that what is science. So again I say that a science is a systematic study of or systematic body of knowledge relating to a particular department of nature. For example, botany. So botany deals with plants. For example, zoology. So zoology, it studied animals or animals' life. Like botany deals with plants, that means it studies the plant's life. So I think what is science is already we have discussed, and it has already cleared. So now normative science, not a positive science. So before going to start the normative science and not a positive science or positive science, some things here, that is every science confines its investigation to a particular department. That is, so the definition of science, here we get that a science is a systematic body of knowledge relating to a particular department. It means the scientific, that means every science confines its investigation to a particular department only, or particular department of nature. So in this case, or that means scientific knowledge is general in the sense that it is always accurate, verifiable, that means exact and certain. So a science attempts at discovering universal laws governed by or govern particular facts of the particular department of the nature. So every science must have or every science must conform to the principles of reasoning in general in its investigation. So scientific knowledge, if and when verified, is regarded as exact and accurate. Therefore it is certain and verifiable. So now when we studied the nature of logic, so automatically comes that the main points, that is the last one, that is logic is a normative science. So first of all, we know that, or we will know that what is normative science and what is positive science. So before going to start the normative science and positive science, here the science have been classified into 2. That is, one is normative, another is positive. So first of all, we know that, or we will know that what is positive science. So now a positive science is one which deals with things as they actually are. So it studies the facts as they actually happen to be. It observes the facts as they actually behave in nature and tries to explain them by discovering the laws governing them. For example, physics. Physics is a positive science. How? Here the question, how physics is a positive science? So physics is a positive science because it studies the physical phenomena which actually happen in nature. Similarly, psychology, that is psychology is also a positive science because psychology, it studies the mental facts which actually occur in the mind. So psychology is also a positive science. So physics and psychology are the example of positive science. So here again I repeat that a positive science is one which deals with the things as they actually are. It studies the facts as they actually happen to be. So for example, physics, for example, psychology. Physics is a positive science because physics studies the physical phenomena which actually happen in nature. Psychology is also a positive science because psychology studies the mental facts which actually occur in the human mind. So psychology is a positive science. So now what is normative science? A normative science is one which deals with things as they should be. Again I repeat, a normative science is one which deals with the things as they should be. It sets before itself a norm or an ideal. A norm or an ideal. Norm or an ideal. So as they actually are. So here from the things and the judge of, that means the standpoint of deal. So now normative science deals with some norms or some ideals. So here before itself, or it sets before itself a norm or an ideal, and things are judged from the standpoint of the ideal. For example, ethics. So ethics is a normative science. How? Ethics, it refers to the ideal of good. Ideal of good, and from the standpoint of the ideal good, that is rightness and wrongness of human conduct is judged. Ethics is a normative science because it refers to the ideal of the term good, and it from the standpoint of this ideal of good, rightness and wrongness of human conduct is judged. Similarly, logic is also a normative science. So how? So normative science, logic is concerned with the question as to how we ought to think and not to know and not how we do actually think. So Here logic sets before itself the ideal of truth. So logic seeks to know the principles and conditions which our thinking must observe in order that the ideal truth may be attained. So here the logic, what is the ideal of logic? That means truth. So the norms, the ideal standpoint of the truth, logic search truth, and logic seeks to know the principles and conditions which our thinking must observe in order that the ideal truth may be attained. So thus logic refers to the ideal of truth and judge the correctness of our thinking with reference to this ideal of truth. So hence, therefore, that means logic is a normative science. So logic is a normative science. So now we find here that there are some points, that means logic is concerned with our mediate knowledge, not immediate knowledge. So that means logic is a normative science, not a positive science. So in this, the way, that is the nature of logic, there are 4 points discussed in the last point, that is the normative science and not a positive science. So it is the last point. Here one question arises, that is logic is a normative science and not a positive science. So already we have know that what is positive science and what is normative science and how logic is a normative science. So one question arises, that is how it is logic is a science before normative science. So logic is a science. The subject matter of logic is thinking or reasoning. Subject matter of logic is reasoning or thinking. So it is a systematic knowledge relating to a thinking or reasoning. It determines to know in a systematic and methodical way to general principles of correct thinking, which must be observed so that thinking may be correct and errors may be avoided. For this reason, logic is a science. So here logic is a normative science. So first of all, logic is a science, then it is a normative science. So normative science, why? That logic sets before itself the ideal of truth. So logic seeks to know the principles and conditions which our thinking must observe in order that the ideal truth may be attained. Thus logic refers to the ideal of truth and judges the correctness of our thinking and with reference to the ideal of truth. For this reason, logic is a normative science. So today the nature of logic, that is the second point of unit number 1, is finished. So if any queries, then comment in a comment box. Thank you everyone.